episode, well, it might sting a little because we're talking about something many entrepreneurs don't want to admit. Money is not always the problem. Yes, capital is important, but we have seen startups after startup raise funds, then they crash within months. Not because of lack of cash, but because of weak positioning, shallow planning, and poor execution. And today, Rebecca will help us unpack what really separates lasting businesses from expensive experiments. And without any further ado, I think we should get down to this conversation. Rebecca, you've worked with entrepreneurs and startups, right? At different stages. And you have your own theories around this subject matter. In your experience, what are the most common signs that a business is hiding behind? We just need funding when strategy is actually the real problem. I know you also have issues with strategy.
I have issues with a lot of things. Good thing I'm here every single Tuesday.
Oh, yes.
So when it comes to not every organization, not every entrepreneur is ready for funding. And I think it ties very well into what we spoke about last week, which was pretty much when are you an entrepreneur and when have you just registered a business with RDB? And when it comes to strategy, a lot of entrepreneurs they have no understanding of how much money something actually takes. So I've seen this a lot. You have a business idea and someone presents the idea and then they're either saying, oh, we just need this amount of cash. And you can look at the business and you can see these are what the expenses that you should be considering. And this amount of cash that you're asking for will last you 2 weeks, which is not enough for you to start making your own revenue with the business model that you have. So it's about having a clear idea of what money is actually needed, where do you actually need it to go, and how are you going to spend it, and how are you going to start making revenue in your business. And then you have the people on the other end who are completely inflating their prices. You know, I just need $100,000, but for what? You've never run a business. Why are you asking for $100,000? You obviously don't know how to manage it in the first place. So it's really about having a realistic overview of what expenses are needed in order to reach the goals that we've set out. How much do things actually cost? You know, very often we also, when I speak to entrepreneurs, they start talking about, oh, we just need this money for this. And it's like, you have no idea how much money is actually needed. And it's either that they're completely undershooting or they're completely inflating those prices. And if you don't have the experience of working with a business, then it makes sense. Like as we spoke about last time, we're not really training people in understanding entrepreneurship. But there are so many hidden costs in business, so many things that you don't even think about. And when you're just putting out, oh, I'm going to spend, $50,000 on marketing, but you don't have a business yet. Why are you even marketing something? You need to create a business before you have anything to market. So you can very quickly sense when you're talking to an entrepreneur, an aspiring entrepreneur, when they start talking about money, you can get a really good sense of, do they actually know what they're talking about?
Let me just wonder, now that you bring in the element of what are you marketing when you've not created the business yet? I think I've spoken to one startup, which from the look of things, they looked like they were ready for the market, but they kept saying, no, we are not advertising yet. Is it true you could look at a business which physically is like it's all set to go, but then the product is actually not there?
Yeah, absolutely. You can have that. You can also have a business where the processes are not in place. So if they all of a sudden get a bunch of clients, they wouldn't be able to handle them. And you don't want your first clients to have a negative experience of your business. So you want to make sure that things are in place before you start. And I think actually that's when you're saying that, it's kind of an indication that they have a realistic idea of where their business is. Whereas a lot of people, they would say, oh, let's just start getting clients. But if you're not ready to handle your clients, then it's actually a really bad idea to start marketing it. If you don't have an idea of how you're going to bring the clients in, how you're going to serve them, how you're going to follow up with them, how you're going to make sure that whatever you're delivering to them, that it's fulfilled to at least the extent that they're expecting, if not preferably better, right? You always want to over deliver when you're dealing with clients, especially when you're a new business, because you don't want to start your business having a lot of negative reviews, right? So it's absolutely possible that you have a business that looks like it's ready, but it's not. You want to make sure that you the first couple of clients you want to get into your business, you want to take them almost as a test subject. You want to get them into your business. You want to have them understand also that this is a new product. You know, very often we're talking about having beta clients, which is they're aware that they're helping us test out this thing, and then they will give us feedback, and then we're going to charge them maybe a little bit less, so that the business gets the experience with the clients. And they get maybe some reviews also, they get feedback, they get testimonials, they get something that they can take from those exchanges, and they can say, okay, great, now we're getting ready. Because if you're throwing marketing at something that hasn't even been tested, you don't even know if it works very well. You don't know if you're able to serve your clients in the way that you expect it to. You don't know if the client is going to be happy. Very often we think we can serve something, and then we just really can't, right?
But also there's this mentality of, let me throw the business out there. Let it get known. I mean, a word on the streets.
And adjust
with
the
as
feedback.
it grows. Yes.
Yeah, but obviously we want to, when we start getting clients, we want to make sure that we get the feedback, and then we iterate, and we get ready for the expansion. But the thing is also, if you don't have the experience to show that you can actually handle your clients well at all, why are you throwing money into the marketing of it? If you don't have the experience as an entrepreneur in advance that shows, okay, I know what business I'm doing, I know what I'm up to, I'm just doing it under a new name, a new brand, or whatever it is, then that's different, because you already have that experience to be able to do it. But if you're a new entrepreneur and you've never really served clients before, or you've not done it in the area that you're getting into, getting that first experience of making sure, okay, we know how to handle our clients, we know what is needed. But the thing is also, very often with clients, they depending on what you're doing, but especially if it's a service-based industry, we don't often know the extent to which the client's issues surface. So there could be a lot of extra things that we hadn't taken into account. And if we don't know how to handle that, if we all of a sudden we get 100 clients from one day to the other because we just tossed a huge marketing budget at it, now you're having all of these little issues that you don't know how to handle. Your clients can't possibly have a good experience with you.
Is this information you're sharing for the slightly bigger firms, bigger companies, or it applies across the board for every business?
No, it depends also. I mean, if we were getting back to the eggs, right? If you're buying eggs and selling them at the neighbors.
Again, we're back to this egg story.
It's not going to do huge damage, you know, if someone has a bad egg or something. But on the other hand, if you market your business and then tomorrow you have 100 clients and you're used to handling 2 clients, you don't know if you can get the eggs, you don't know if you can get the quality of eggs, you don't know if you can get the transportation of eggs. All of a sudden everything changes in terms of how you're serving your clients. And when all of that changes, you don't have a plan for how you're going to be delivering this. How are you going to source the eggs? How are you going to package them? How are you going to transport them? You can't put them on your bike anymore because there's 100 clients. How are you going to transport them? Are you now going to be hiring other people to deliver the eggs? How are you going to hire them? All of a sudden now people have to wait 2 weeks to get their eggs. It's like, why am I waiting 2 weeks to get the eggs? This is not worth it. Now you're going to have 100 unhappy clients. Maybe there's 2 happy clients in between.
So what is the business then? You know, to some of us, excited about an idea. I think someone earlier on talked about having a plan and having an idea. And he said these are completely 2 different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have this idea and we are obsessed with the idea. So we want to start. And where do we start? You've registered at RDB. You have your logo set. You've opened your Instagram handle. You've opened your X handle. Your colors are bright online. You're asking your friends to follow you. And so you think you're ready with a product.
No, not at all. The first thing you gotta do is figure out, how do you want to serve your clients and who do you want to serve?
Do you have the product anyway? That's the first question.
Yeah, but exactly, how do you want to serve your clients? What is it that you're going to sell them? What is it that you're going to provide your clients? If you don't have a product, if you don't have a service, if you don't have something packaged where you can say, I'm going to sell you this and you're going to pay me this in return, you don't have a business. So you can have the logo, you can have the handles, you can have your friends following your account, but are you selling anything? And if you're not selling anything, we're back to the discussion that we had last week. You're an influencer. You're not a business owner.
That reminds me of someone who said, please follow my account. And then you follow the account and you're like, okay, so what's up with this account? And they're like, later on, I'm going to tell you what this account is all about. Like, seriously, why did you ask us to follow you?
Yeah.
When you don't even have the idea of what you want to do. Okay, you have the idea, but you haven't put the product there.
But that's
Why are
also
we
the
following
thing.
you?
We're recommending people to go out and be proactive and take action and do the thing. But if you don't even know what you're doing, why are you making the moves? Figure out what it is that you want to do. Figure out how do you want to serve. Is it selling a product? Is it selling a service? Is it selling some sort of a package or a mix or whatever it is? You have to be clear on what it is that you want to do for the marketplace before you start all of this, you know. And one thing is, if you have kind of a teaser that's, hey, this thing is launching next on July 1st, right? Follow and see what is launching. Then at least you're building some sort of interest and curiosity. But if you're not launching something on July 1st that's clear to people, it's going to be like, what are we doing here? And then you're not going to seem serious. And if you don't seem serious, people are going to be like, why would I put my money into this person?
They can never take you serious.
You can't.
Can you walk us through a case, anonymous or public, where a startup had funding but failed, and what exactly went wrong on the strategy or execution side?
Yeah, so what very often happens is that there is not clarity on where the money should go. And fortunately, a lot of the funders now, they expect you to have full clarity. It's like, we need to see a full budget on where the money goes, and we have to review the budget and see, do we think that this is reasonable? Do we think this makes sense? And then if you're ticking all of these boxes, that's when you can have the money. But with smaller grants and sponsorships, that's not always the case, which means that it's just like, oh, okay, you have a great business idea. Great. Here's like $5,000, something like that. And this person has an idea of their business. And then once they start, like we spoke about last time, money comes in, first thing that happens, shopping spree or paying some bills off or sending money to mama, something like that. And then all of a sudden you no longer have 5,000, you have 2,000. And then you realize, oh, maybe I need to be paying some old expenses. Maybe RA is going to come and say, hey, part of that, did you pay VAT on that? You know, that was not a VAT free grant or whatever it is. Now you're back to 1,500, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, all the money's gone. Because there was no actual clear plan. You know, there's also some people have friends that are like, okay, you just got a lot of money. You can pay for the next time we'll go out. You can, pay for the barbecue, pay for this and this and this and that.
Buy dinner.
You should definitely buy dinner. We need to celebrate. You pay the bottles, whatever it is. And before you know it, the money is gone. So if you don't have financial literacy, if you don't have that experience of knowing, okay, this money comes in here and this is where it's supposed to go. And there's a very thick line between what is the business's money and what is my money. And when it comes to grants, it really shouldn't be paid out as income, right? It should be put into the business. So,
and I think a lot of business people, why most businesses fail, is because we do not know how to differentiate personal money and business money.
It's very important that you have.
It's something that people don't usually do.
You need separate accounts for that. You know, it should not even go you should only be paying out income if it is registered budgeted income that then comes with income tax as well. You know, there needs to be very clear lines between what is business money and what is your personal money. And if not, you're going to one day end up with an RRA invoice slap in your face that says, hey, what's up with this? How come you've been spending all of this business money on your personal expenses? Then you have to pay an income tax on that. So if you don't have a very clear idea of where does the money go, in order to, and it's also like sometimes entrepreneurs will spend money on the craziest things, right? For example, I'm going to put all $5,000 into marketing a business that doesn't exist. So that when the clients come, I'm not even going to be able to clearly explain to them, this is how I can help you. And this is the money that you should pay me in return. Now you've gotten, okay, you got 2,000 new followers. Yay. But what does that actually do for your business, right? Does it actually bring value to your business? And when it comes to vanity metrics like followers, comments, likes, all of this, it doesn't necessarily do any good for your business. So how can you get something? Is there any equipment that you need that can help you on this business journey? Can you hire staff? Can you do something? And then very clearly, again, if you do get equipment, if you do get staff, how does that impact positively? Because if it's just like, I'm going to hire staff, I'm going to hire my cousin, you know, and now cousin has a payroll and cousin doesn't show up to work because cousin thinks that he's just there to cash checks. You know, are you actually moving somewhere with this money that came in? And if we don't have a very clear picture of, okay, this money comes in, it's supposed to be spent here. When it's spent here, that's going to create revenue for the business or impact something that can create revenue for the business. If you don't have that, the money will just vanish into open air, right?
Yep.
Interesting. Let's talk about positioning, Rebecca. How often do startups actually understand their market fit? Or are they just excited about their idea?
Both. Both. I think again it comes down to how seasoned is this entrepreneur. If you're a completely new entrepreneur, very often you have no idea what you're doing, and it's just part of the learning journey. You see a lot of entrepreneurs who are doing really well in entrepreneurship. They've had so many failed businesses before that. And very often it is, I didn't understand my positioning. I didn't understand, the budgeting. I didn't understand. And for each of the businesses they've closed down, there's been a new learning experience, right?
Yeah.
So I also just want to say that just because you haven't figured it out yet doesn't mean that you ever will. Sometimes we need those failures in order to learn that thing, so that next time you open a business or next time you do it, it works now because you learned last time from this very expensive lesson. One thing that's often the case with new entrepreneurs is that they lack clarity on what the business actually does. So they're not able to clearly communicate to their potential clients, this is how I'm serving you. So this is the product, or this is the service, or this is what you get. And this is what you're supposed to pay me in return. And this is why you should trust me to deliver this in a high quality. There's also the thing where, are you going to be super cheap? Because then people don't expect quality. Are you going to be, really high quality? Because then people don't trust you if it's cheap, right? So how do you manage the pricing now? One of my favorite quotes from Myron Golden goes, if you're the cheapest, no one will believe you're the best. But if you're the best, no one will expect you to be the cheapest, right? So if you've ever tried this, you go into a store. Let's say you go into a store and you expect this to be really high quality. And then you go and you pick up an item and you see the price and it's low. And you're like, what's wrong?
What's
wrong with
Black
it?
Friday.
Yeah. No.
It is duped.
When it comes to it's duped. Like
it
that
is
was
fake. It's low quality. If I buy this, it's going to break quick. So very often it's like entrepreneurs are trying to do everything at once. I want to be cheap and the best and excellent and this. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. You have to figure out which one are you going to choose. Right? Because if you want to be the cheapest, you're going to work with really low profit margins. If you work with really low profit margins and you're a small business, it's going to be difficult for you to scale. And it's usually the businesses that have a lot of money to put into leaning out the production chain that is able to operate with low profit margins.
But yesterday I spoke to a CEO who said they are working to bring prices down. Is he wrong?
No, some businesses work better that way. If you're not excellent in something specific, if you're not unique in something specific, it becomes really hard. If you have a commodity, which means that if you sell something and I sell the exact same thing, we're going to have to compete on who can do it the cheapest, right? So, and that's about bringing down the costs per item so that now we can operate with lower costs while still having a profit margin. If we now have a huge volume of something, then low profit margins can work because we get just a little bit from each item, but we sell a lot of items. So we still get profit into the business. But if you have both low volume and low profit margin, you're going to really struggle to scale your business because there's never going to be money to actually do it. You're going to have to spend all of that money, put it back into the business. And now it becomes a struggle. And that's why very often when I work with entrepreneurs, it's like, okay, so what can you do to add value so it's no longer a commodity? Right? Now it's not just the thing that you sell, it's how you sell it. It's do you deliver it to someone's house? Do you make sure that there's really strong reliability every single time you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. People can trust you. I buy stuff from Tuma 250. There's this business that I just send them WhatsApp messages and then they deliver it to my house and they do it so quickly. And I trust them every single time. They're going to get things done properly. And it takes away a lot of decision making. It takes away the need for me to leave the house or to go somewhere to buy stuff. I will gladly, it's convenience. I will gladly pay more per item for them to handle things for me. And they handle everything smoothly. And they're always so nice. They know my name right. They're, hey, Rebecca, how's... They're excellent at what they do and they do it really well. So I don't mind paying extra. But if I go to the supermarket and I see two of the same item and one is cheaper than the other, there's no reason for me to buy the expensive one. So now if the only thing that you're competing on is price, now you have to be the cheapest because there's no strategic advantage to being the second cheapest, but there is a strategic advantage to being the most expensive because there's a brand now.
There's a brand, yes. Rebecca, I love to call you the business doctor. And please allow the titles.
Sure.
How do you guide founders who are stuck in the cycle of we need money to move, but they haven't done the deep work of business modeling, testing, or refining their offer.
Yeah. It's very easy to say that we just need money. And it's not a lot of entrepreneurs who are ready for money. So very often what entrepreneurs neglect is the learning curve. Because if you just start out from day one and you say, hey, I need money to set up my business, it's like, but you don't even know what your business is going to do. You don't have an expectation of what it's going to look like. You don't have the knowledge to figure out, in order to take me from A to Z, these are the steps that I need to go through. You can't clearly articulate what this money is going to be used on. You have no idea how the business is actually going to work. So we have to figure out all of these things first. Because if it's so easy just to say, if I just had money, everything would work. But you have to make your business become the kind of business that people will trust. And for that, you need experience. And to have experience, you need to start doing the things. And you have to figure it out, work it out. You know, and then people are like, oh, but how am I going to work it out if I don't have any money? But this is what entrepreneurs face. You have to figure out a way to start making moves and start getting that experience and start getting this understanding before you can even become ready for that money. And any funder, any donor, any grant supplier will be looking at your business and they're going to know you're just a person who's full of ideas with no experience. We're not going to give you any money.
But is it a wrong thing to have ideas?
No, it's wonderful to have ideas. But if you don't have the grit to actually put any of these ideas into action, you're not going to be the kind of person that I would trust with my money.
You can actually have ideas, but executing them can be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then maybe you need a partner,
You
right?
also
Maybe
need
that's
you
what
need knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, if you can give me, Rebecca, 3 hard strategy questions that every founder needs to ask themselves before they even pitch for funding that could prevent disaster later.
Yeah. So first of all, you need to understand, what am I actually selling? And it sounds crazy, but some people can't answer this very clearly.
Yeah.
You have to understand fully, what is it that I'm selling? You have to understand fully, what is the competitive advantage of this? Why would people buy from me instead of somebody else? And you have to be really, really honest with these questions, because, you know, just because your mom says it's a great idea and she would invest in your business and she would buy your products, doesn't mean that other people would, right? Your mom is going to buy from you because she loves you. Somebody who doesn't know you is going to be like, why would I buy from you instead of buying from somebody else? And it's really about having that honesty with yourself. Is this actually a good product? Then you got to test it. You know, you have to go out and test. Is somebody going to buy this? Like, start reaching out. Hey, I got this stuff going on. I have this thing I'm going to sell. Would anyone be interested? And before we go into, you know, spending all of this marketing budget, look at something like, what is it called, that big WhatsApp group, the Kigali Big Search or whatever, right? It's like,
There's a WhatsApp group called
there's
Kigali Big Search.
something like that. It has more than 1,000 people in it, and people would just
And you're
write.
on that group?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So it would have stuff like, there's also, you know, Rwandering has like a marketplace subgroup or something. So you
Yes.
can start posting, hey, I got this thing that I'm selling. And then see, is anyone actually responding to this? Is there one person out of the thousands of people in this group? Is there even one person who's liking it? Is there one person who reaches out? Is there one person who's interested? Because if nobody's interested, what you got to figure out something. Either change the way that you're talking about it, change the way that you're packaging it, change the way that you're selling it, right? To see, okay, is this, when I do it like this instead, is it going to create a response, right? So what are you actually selling? What is the competitive advantage of it? And then what is how am I imagining the future of this? Because if it's just, oh, I'm just going to keep having a low stock in my house and I'm just going to keep posting in these WhatsApp groups, and then once in a while I'll make a sale. And if that's the dream of your business, I would say it's more like a hobby than an actual business, right? Are you able to see yourself scaling this thing into something bigger, something that can become a business with processes and systems and staff? And maybe you're going to have some stores, or you're going to have different offices. What would it look like if you scale to beyond Rwanda, right? What would that look like? And if you don't really have an idea of where am I going with this, then you have to go back to the drawing board and figure out, what do I actually want to do with this business and why? I think really, and we've spoken about this before, and I know Festus is really big on this, is like, if you don't have a why, if you don't have something that feels really important, if you don't have something that feels like, I want to do this for the community, right? I want to do this for a bigger impact. I want to do this for a reason. I want to do this because not enough people have access to this thing, right? If there's not something like that, if it's just, I just want to make money, then it's unlikely that someone is going to be wanting to invest in you simply because they're going to think, oh, you're going to stay with this until you're bored.
Interesting. We are talking on the subject that money is not always the problem. Maybe what is actually missing is strategy. But I learned something yesterday from you, Rebecca. You have thoughts about strategy. You seem to want to say that strategy is not everything.
Oh, absolutely. But nothing is everything, right?
That's another new one. Nothing is everything.
We always want to say, I have this solution. This is what you need. This is what you need. This is what you need. What very often happens, and I think also because I work very much on, you know, the identity work of the entrepreneur. And I'm gonna try to explain this as short as possible, because this is something I can do a 4-hour masterclass on very quickly. We've spoken about it before, the subconscious versus the conscious mind, and what is actually taking control, right? How are we actually acting and why are we actually doing it? And I like to see it like this. I like to see it as if the conscious mind is in the passenger seat with your Google Maps, right? The conscious mind is saying, this is where we want to go. And then the subconscious mind is the one who's actually driving. Okay. So you can say as much as you want, we're going to turn right, we're going to turn right next time. But the subconscious mind is going to be like, no, I want to continue straight. So we're going to continue straight because that's what the subconscious mind wants. And then Google Maps is going to recalibrate and say, okay, we can still reach the same destination. We just have to do this instead. And then we keep going, and the conscious mind says, now we're going to have to turn right. And the subconscious mind says, no. And you can continue driving for years, keep recalibrating and think you're in control because you have Google Maps. But the subconscious mind is always going to be the one making the decisions. So you might tell yourself, I want to set up my business on Monday. And then let's say today's Tuesday. I want to set up my business on Monday. And then we start feeling some sort of internal resistance because I don't actually believe I can be a good business owner. But I've learned really good mindset work. So I just keep telling myself, I'm going to do a lot of affirmations, and I'm going to tell myself I'm going to be a great entrepreneur. And we get closer and closer to Monday, and we experience more and more resistance, and we're getting more and more scared. All of a sudden, we start making up the excuses for, actually, we should wait until next Monday. Actually, we should wait until the 1st of next month. Actually, if we wait until 1st of January, you know, that's a great start a great time to start something new. Actually, Monday 1st, you know, nothing's going to be open. It's a holiday. Actually, we should wait until the Monday after. Before you know it, 5 years have passed and you haven't set up your business. But you still think you're going to set up the business, but you're not, because you haven't done the identity work to start seeing yourself as someone who can actually do the thing. And whenever I work with entrepreneurs, one thing that I love working on is like, what is your business going to look like if it's 10 times as big as your biggest dream? Right? You have this idea of where you want to take your business, and it's like, I want to, you know, serve all shops in Rwanda. Okay, but what if you served all shops in Africa? What would it look like, right? And you just see immediate resistance. I can't work outside of the continent. I can't. Me? No, we could never. Let's just start focusing on Kigali. And a lot of fear and a lot of resistance kicks in, because I don't know how to be such a big entrepreneur. I can't see myself doing it. And then it no longer becomes about the business, because the business could absolutely do it. If someone else came in and did the exact same business, let's say Mark Cuban took over your business. Do you think he could take it across the continent?
Of course,
yes. Of course. So why can't you, as an entrepreneur? And this is what entrepreneurs very often do. They apply their own limitations they have of themselves. They apply that to the business. So if you have all of this resistance and fear for growth and scaling, you're scared of failing, you're scared what your aunties are going to say, you're scared that somebody's going to see you fail, then you're not going to be expanding. And it doesn't matter how good the strategy is. Does not. You can have Mark Cuban can come and make your strategy, but you're never going to implement it because you have that internal resistance. And that's why we have to do the identity work first. Now, some people just have really great identities for entrepreneurship, and they're going to say, I'm just going to jump out the deep end and see what happens, because they don't have the same limitations. But I would say 99% of the people that I work with struggle with something that's holding them back.
Do you ever find out what it is?
Identity.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it always comes down to limiting self-beliefs, shattered self-image, confidence issues, imposter syndrome, all of this. But then again, all of that usually comes from something much deeper. So that's why when I work with entrepreneurs, it's about, let's get into the root of why is it really? Let's talk about, why is it really? Why do you have these control issues? you know, what would happen if you lost control? What's the worst thing that would happen? Oh, did you grow up having to control everything, or, you know, the whole family would just go off on each other? You know, are you used to being the person who holds the peace?
You are the person that the family worships and believes in.
And now you have to live up to that impression. What would happen if they saw you fail? And now they found out that you're actually not infallible. You're a human being. What would that feel like? You know, how would you feel knowing that you would disappoint someone like that? Right? And if you go down into, okay, this is actually what is holding people back, you're going to have to be faced with, are you willing to do it despite of all the fears? Are you willing to step out and be very uncomfortable and have your whole nervous system shaking? Or do you want to play it more comfortable and stay smaller for a while until we more slowly start unpacking these and you start, you know, building the courage to do these things?
You got to look out for Rebecca because she gives great insights, and we call her the business doctor for so many reasons. Reasons such as that. Go to our social media handles. We'll be posting this content. It will also be available on YouTube. And ask me about Rebecca, and I'll direct you where to find her. We need to do a hard stop, as promised.
Yes.
It's 22 minutes to 10 o'clock. It's Kigali in the morning.